Hello everyone and welcome to our RedRock water wall and bubble water feature video. If you've seen our previous videos, you might remember our old water wall, which we needed to unfortunately tear down before starting this new project. Personally, I really like that old water wall, but I think that what we're about to show you, you guys are going to love. My old man helped me tear down the old water wall, which was a bit bittersweet. In total, it took us about an hour and helped clear out the way for the new water feature. Most of the supplies that you can see here were purchased through Amazon, Home Depot, and various pond supply companies. But for a full list, you can visit our website, formosaspain.com. After demolition, we set about digging a hole for the aqua blocks to sit in. The most fun part of this? Digging a hole. Am I right? Of course not, but needed to happen. We ended up digging the hole about 60 inches by 50 inches by about 20 inches deep, and of course a little bit deeper down where the pump sits there. We are going to use our aqua blocks not only to use for a water basin, but also to support our waterfall. In the back here is where our pump is going to be, so everything here is graded downward to where our pump is. Now we want to have access to our pump in case anything goes wrong with it. In my old waterfall, I had it covered with gravel and rock, and it made it almost impossible to be able to get to the pump. This time we're going to improve it. Now this block is for a fish pond filtration system. We took everything out and we're just using this as a reservoir to be able to get to our pump. So we cut off the bottom of it. And if we need to get to our pump, we simply take off the lid, no rocks or any covering on top of it, we can reach in and access our pump. Next up, we simply lay the pond liner over the hole that we just dug, just like so. All right, we built 4 large aqua blocks and have them placed in here. If you can tell, we do have the slope. The aqua blocks make it a little bit easier to see. And really, these 3 will be our platform to build our waterfall off of, and then we've got extra storage here. Really happy with how flat that turned out. So we're going to double check the slope at this point. So I'm going to put some water in at various points, and what we're going to do is ultimately just make sure that it is running down to the spot where we've got our pump set up. So let's test it out. So we put cinder block in there, and the cinder block is pointed like this, just like a V. And that is what this block, or this box, is sitting upon. We also put a fine, not quite metal mesh in there as well. We don't want metal because it will, of course, tear up our pond liner, but just a little filtration so rocks and larger debris can't get in there. Our pump will sit right down inside of there. This thing, especially once we backfilled it with dirt, is super sturdy and it's not going to go anywhere, and it's going to be super accessible for our pump and for our manifold too. We're just about to put our rock in to fill up some of the dead space from the aqua blocks. And one idea that we had was to get this large 4-inch PVC pipe and put it down at the very bottom. It will take up some space, but will allow for a clear shot of that water just directly to get in there. Don't know if it's necessary, but will allow for a better flow from our water from up top here to come down. The main highlight of our pondless water feature was the RedRocks. After looking around our valley at a few stone retailers, we found American Stone, which had a huge selection and the ability to cut the rocks that we picked out. They were super helpful with picking out rocks for our project. They drilled 2 holes for piping into the stone pillars, but the real selling point is that they were able to cut a 24-inch hole into one of the slabs so that we could fit our old spillway into the rock slab. Really easy to work with. I would highly recommend them, and if you live in the Salt Lake Valley and are looking to do a rock project, you should definitely go check them out. All right, so we pre-glued in our PVC pipe, our 3/4-inch PVC pipe, into our connector here. We primed it, cemented it, and then we put on the flex pipe. We didn't clamp it. Slid the rock forward, push this through, and then as we roll the block back, we'll set it up onto these pavers to give it some height so that we can adjust this tubing so that we can connect it to our box. We've got the rock sitting halfway on 2 different blocks, a little bit on the ground here, and it seems to be supporting the weight just fine. All right, so we put in our big slab, which is going to be for our spillway, and then to support it, we put in a couple of cinder blocks behind it, a cinder block with a paver to support the edge that's of the natural rock that's lifted, folding over our pond liner, and then we're backfilling it with dirt to give it more support. Then we're going to fill it all full of rocks to make sure this thing doesn't go anywhere. All right, so we have our 2 other slabs up here just to give us a bit more depth. And to show you how we did that, we put cinder block and backfilled this one. And then we push this one right up against the cinder block. And then this one right in the back. So we've got cinder block that we overlapped. We'll drive the rebar all the way down into here, and then we will fill these cinder blocks full of dirt, backfill everything to make it stable. All right, so for our spillway 24-inch LED spillway in the back, there's an 1.5 inch inlet. So what I bought was an elbow just from Home Depot. Male end here, 1.5 inch screws in. And the opposite end of this is just open for PVC, so that will screw in there. Then I have a reducer that goes from 1.5 inch to fit into that PVC pipe with the outlet as a female end. And then again, I have another reducer that screws into this with the output end being the end for our flex tubing, or 3/4 inch. So we're going to go from 3/4 inch tubing ultimately into the 1.5 inch for our spillway. So those are all the parts that I bought. Total, they were about $2. You can see our manifold here, and the 3 white knobs on top can be adjusted to regulate the amount of water flow that comes out of the piping. Those went to each of our bubble rocks, and again, one of them I didn't use. But you can see the clear plastic tubing that came from the additional pump that goes directly into our spillway. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to like our video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. From all of us here at Blue House Yellow Door, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.